we are in the presence of a celebrity right now. This is
We are.
She did the Super Bowl commercial with Bill Murray and Jeep.
That's it right there.
This is it. This is the one that started it all.
You planned that.
No, I didn't, but yeah, that's cool.
Could we be in line for something funny to come out of the mouth?
Just might happen.
What a little key.
She's the best.
Everyone deserves to feel their best. Everyone deserves to move their best and not have pain.
I'm a little upset that Ben got like 2 inches taller because he's already tall, dark, and handsome enough.
Culture is something we think about like all the time at Strookies. You know, we're all coming from different cultures.
Our comments have exploded through the roof. So there you go. Hello. Welcome back. Another week of Lancaster Connects, the show that supports our community. I'm Jeff here at Gardner's Mattress and More.
I'm Ben.
I said we weren't going to do that.
Okay. Sorry.
All right. Well, now we have to clue the people in. So our wonderful guest who we're going to bring on in a few minutes, Brad, nailed it with the preparation for a guest on the show.
Guest of the year.
Yeah.
We've had many guests of the year, but Brad was like perfect in alignment.
Yeah. There's a lot of things we do back behind the scenes that you would never see. And so when I said, hey, you did really good, I'm like Jordan the Swish, right? And Ben, Michael Jordan throwing up a basket, please throw a basket, shoot, whatever.
You throw a football.
Right. You could tell I don't play basketball. And Ben's like, you're doing that wrong. He's right-handed. I'm like, well, but I'm right-handed, and this is how I shoot.
Nope.
I'm going to have to go dribble a basketball at home tonight. I mean, I've never was good at basketball, so maybe that's why.
We're going to play one-on-one next Monday at 2:00.
Yeah, no, I think that would be.
That's good.
I think I just need to dribble once and I'll figure it out. I think, yeah. So, is there anybody else out there that's right-handed but goes up to shoot and the left hand leads?
Well, there's a lot of kids that do that. I see this all the time in baseball. They're like left-handed kids, but they swing righty or vice versa. They might throw righty, swing lefty.
So it is more normal than you made me feel all alone.
I don't know that it happens so much in basketball, but sorry, Jeff.
We're like as the hip happen in Lancaster Connect shows going, everybody's dancing and grooving. I'm here trying to lay my heart out, and Ben's like, "No, that's terrible. That's trash. That's why you're terrible at basketball. That's why you never made the team." This is what happens here in these four walls sometimes.
Mayhem.
Yeah. Outside of helping people wake up happy, outside of people helping people wake up happy and pain-free, which is our primary business here at Gardner's Mattress and More. We're in the midst of our summer sales season. Labor Day promotions officially begin tomorrow. Tempur-Pedic, save up to $700 on Tempur-Pedic mattresses. We have our double deals, free size upgrades. We'll pay your sales tax, all kinds of fun things to maximize the discounts on your upcoming purchase. Please do check us out. We'd love to be able to help you. As I said, this is the show that helps our community. Something else that we do, we kind of launched it late last school year.
Yep.
Because we had an opportunity to get some amazing pillows at an amazing price. And I said, well, let's give them away. And so that's
we're doing what now?
Yeah. Well,
just giving them away.
Just giving them away.
Giving them away. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Tell them how we're giving them away.
Ben needs podcasting lessons. It's
not basketball lessons.
It's back to school for your kid. It's back to podcasting school.
That's right. That's right.
And I'll take the basketball lessons with him. But no, we have our Nominate a Student program. So this is where all Lancaster County teachers. So as you're getting to know your kids, maybe you got the same kids coming back. Maybe you moved up a grade level with them. I don't know if teachers do that. Like I know football coaches, typically the dad coaches move up with their kids' team. Teachers, basically this, if you have a student that struggling, they're not getting a great night's sleep, a nice, wonderful new pillow would just lift their spirits, help them out, make them more prepared for the day, help them get a better night's sleep. We want to be a part of that. Go to gardnersmattressandmore.com/nominate. There's a simple form there. We tell a story of where this little part of our various efforts to give back to our community started. It was with Miss Huber and School District of Lancaster McCaskey had a student who was sleeping on the floor, and we have a picture of the student there. And if you notice that back corner, if you look, you can see up at the ceiling. That young man was sleeping on the floor, and there was a lot of black mold on the carpet. So we didn't see the conditions at the time, but seeing it after the fact. boy, it was just so nice to be able to help him wake up happy and really live a truly healthier life, and get him up off the floor. And so we've got these pillows. We'd love to nominate them, get them in your kids' hands, a little more comfort, a little more relaxation, hopefully sleep better and be more prepared for their day when you help them learn and grow. So gardnersmattressandmore.com/nominate. Did I leave anything out?
I don't think so. I mean, really, this is a call for teachers, just like Miss Huber. I mean, it's really cool to be able to help children like that. And
Yep.
When she reached out, I mean, the answer was an immediate yes. We'll figure out a way to make it happen. So we'd like to make it happen for a lot of other children in our community. So just looking for more Miss Hubers out there.
Yeah, I think it was like 50 pillows or so.
Yeah,
is that what it was?
We got a bunch.
Yeah. So we'll continue to talk about that as the school year starts, officially kicks off, and then picks up as we get in. So that's that. I think it's time to bring on our wonderful guest, Brad Ortenzi. He is the Eastern Regional Director from ZOE International. Brad, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for being here. And by the way, Jeff, I think your form is great. I don't think I didn't see anything wrong with that, even a little bit. So.
Little juke jive.
It's a fadeaway. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I faded away to the side. It's to the back.
You were avoiding the defender, like Steph Curry in the gold medal game on Saturday. Right. My gosh, what a performance there!
If I was on that comeback, if I was on that team, comebacks wouldn't even been part of the conversation.
They didn't force the mercy rule. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. The mercy would have been, mercy, get this guy off the court. Brad, thank you for joining us. We'll get into you and what you do here for our community. So for those who don't know, give us the background on ZOE International. What is the mission? Who do you serve? And how do you help our community?
Yeah. Well, first off, thanks for the opportunity to share. So ZOE International, we've been around for about 20 years, originated in Los Angeles, California, and Thailand. Our founders had started this. We are an anti-trafficking nonprofit. Currently, we are in 5 countries, Thailand, Japan, Mexico, Australia, and here in the U.S. And then here in the U.S., we're in Southeast Pennsylvania, mostly Lancaster County, and also Los Angeles. We do a number of things. We have homes for rescued children in Thailand that serves about 60 to 70 children. And then we also have a child rescue center in Thailand that we work within task forces in Thailand with the Royal Thai Police and the Thai Social Services, where that home actually serves children that are freshly taken right out of trafficking in Thailand. And then in Los Angeles, we have a home for trafficked girls in Los Angeles, and do a number of advocacy and mentor things there. And here in Lancaster County, it's a little unique. We've been here about 5 years now in Lancaster County. And so I serve as the coordinator of the Lancaster County Human Trafficking Task Force. So I'm a volunteer coordinator under District Attorney Heather Adams. And District Attorney Heather Adams has been very aggressive in her administration of going after human trafficking. So there was a task force set up, and ZOE is the originating, or sort of the organizing and the coordinating organization within the task force. We just make sure we're filling gaps with prevention, we're doing restoration, and we can talk about that a little bit more. But generally speaking, we are the coordinating organization that comes alongside the District Attorney's Human Trafficking Task Force and fills in where we can.
Okay. So we have police, we have district attorney. How does a case originate? Because I think a lot of people would think in Lancaster County, wait, we have a human trafficking problem.
Mm-hmm.
This is an idyllic area. You got the city and its vibrancy. You got the countryside. You got tourism. You got farming. This does not sound like a place that would need this kind of focus and effort. So how does the, I don't want to say need, but how do the incidences arise? Mm-hmm. And what's your part in bringing everything to light?
Yeah, great question. So, and And you're absolutely right. This is a great place to live and work. And it's interesting when we begin to tell people how busy we've been as a task force, and their eyes are just very shocked with what's going on. Heather Adams just shared a statistic since the beginning of our human trafficking task force started 3 years ago. There's been, I believe, 117 arrests in Lancaster County in those 3 years. Now, those are not all specifically for human trafficking. Many of those are to cut down the demand for online sex, basically, here in Lancaster County, which we can go into some details there that are just really, that's what really surprised people. So the cases start a number of ways. We're doing a number of stings here in Lancaster County. But also sometimes there's tips that come in, and sometimes we've had where some women have reached out and says, I need help. And then the task force will come around on certain ways of working the case that way, of trying to find her, trying to get access to her if she needs help.
So where do these tips come in from? Like if somebody sees something or knows something or needs to reach out, how do they do that?
So generally speaking, there's always the 911 call that can help. But because of the trauma bond and because there's things that are going on in her life, and I say her, there is human trafficking with all sexes. It's just generally speaking, we're because there's so many numbers with women, we usually say her, but she could always call 911. Sometimes they do, but not always. Some of these cases come in through the National Human Trafficking Hotline, and that'll get filtered to a national hotline, and then that'll go to different coordinating law enforcement agencies around, and then that's how some of the cases come in. But the majority of them are proactive police stings where we're actually actively trying to cut down on the demand of online sex. Those guys coming towards those guys that want to seek those type of services online with adults. We're trying to really cut down on those type of guys, those guys that are coming that are trying to find services with children. And then there's also what we'll do is we'll answer the ads that are out there and trying to seek relationship with the women there to try and pull them out of human trafficking.
Wow. You shared as we were ramping up before we went live, you often ride along in this on the sting operations. So share with us, obviously we don't want you, we said it again in the pre-show, we don't want you to like reveal any tactics. We don't want you to obviously reveal any victims or anything like that, but maybe for the listeners and people watching, give us some insight as to what those moments are like, and most importantly, why you're there.
Yeah. So ZOE International in a situation like the stings, depending on there's those three types of stings, 3 stings within one operation that we do talk about. So there's that going on. So most times those are hotel stings at hotels. During that time, really what we're seeing is, again, we're there. Law enforcement and prosecution doesn't need any help. They're doing a great job in seeking out and constantly trying to look and probe to find human trafficking. But where ZOE International comes in is once contact is made with the women, our advocates, we have trained advocates that their job is to seek relationship with them, offer services. Not every woman that we come in contact with would have a trafficker or a pimp, so to speak. So those that don't, we're offering services to them to see if there's anything we can do to help them. Maybe not go online and offer the services if there's something we can do there. So, and then those that we feel that are being trafficked, again, what services can we provide? Is there anything we can do to try and pull them out of the life? There's a bit of a misnomer that thinking that when we come across someone that is being trafficked, that they're going to wrap their arms around us and say, thank you for saving me. I'm so glad to be a part of this process. That just doesn't happen. Because of the trauma bond, most people that are engulfed in trafficking don't even realize they're being trafficked, and they're in this really warped relationship with their trafficker. And he's taken access, or he's taken advantage of their vulnerability. So they're not making the great decisions, and he's making all the decisions for them. So many times when they come in contact with us, it's our job just to love them unconditionally and just sort of offer some services and a continued relationship, if it's safe, to see if there's anything we can do to help them come out of the life.
Yeah, wow. I hadn't considered that fact of having that bond between trafficker and victim. That's pretty wild to think. Here you are in that moment, offering safe harbor, resources, and we'll talk about the resources here in a minute. But that's really wild to think. So that's the importance of having ZOE International, your advocates there on scene, right? To grab, because that's an opportunity to get some mind share, plant the seed, right?
That's a great opportunity, and the iron's hot right there. So there's a number of things we can swoop in and do that. So, and we don't do this alone. We recently started partnering with North Star Initiative, great organization here locally. We also have begun to partner with the YWCA here in Lancaster. So really, what my job is just to pull in all these resources of the experts, and collaboratively, let's work together to work this problem.
Yeah.
Brad, I have a question. Actually, maybe two questions. Why Lancaster for human trafficking? I know we talked a little bit about, at the beginning that you're in Lancaster, and I just kind of want to know why the roots here in Lancaster. And then, is human trafficking a relatively new thing in terms of being or needing to be policed compared to 20 years ago pre-internet? Can you kind of expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, great questions, both of them. So first, let's start with why Lancaster. When my bosses from LA come in and spend any time here in Lancaster, they call it it's like visiting Hallmark, just because it's beautiful. You have you have a beautiful city, but then you also have just the beautiful rural countryside and all of that. But interestingly enough, so our numbers here, just take out the numbers of Lancaster County. We're a very proactive human trafficking task force. Lancaster County has a ton of proactive work. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the trafficking is worse here than other places. It just means that our numbers are high here because we have law enforcement that is actively seeking out and proactively trying to put a stop to this problem, mainly because we have a district attorney that has made it a very prominent part of her administration to stamp this out. So there is a lot of busyness here, but I do like to tell people in Lancaster County, it's no worse, and maybe it might be a little worse here than other counties, but it's not like you're going to find human trafficking under every rock. It's not that bad. But one of the reasons why Lancaster County is a bit of a hub, and if I could first state that sometimes because of the word trafficking, there's a little bit of a misnomer that because we have a lot of highways here, that is the problem. The highways make some easy access, but a person can be trafficked in the same hotel, never leave that hotel, and that's still human trafficking. So there doesn't have to be any transporting of people. And another misnomer is that people are transported across the borders into this country or out of this country into another country for it to be trafficking. That's human smuggling. That's not necessarily human trafficking. So, but why Lancaster County? So one of the reasons where there's tourism, there's going to be human trafficking for sure. There is, we've talked to some of the women that we've come in contact with, and they have told us directly that they would rather be up here in Lancaster County than in Philly or Newark or New York City. It's safer here. Weird part, they can charge more money here, and the guys are nicer. So some of that's good, some of that's warped, all of that. But that shows a little bit into the psyche of Lancaster County of it's a really good place. And but because we have so many touristy spots and a lot of hotels, human trafficking does kind of form around that.
And you were sharing with us that a location, a geographic region, the density of hotel rooms, that's an indicator of higher trafficking. Is that right?
It could be for sure.
There's correlation.
Again, that's exactly, that's the right term. So correlation. So And it's no longer just in seedy hotels. We're very careful to honor the hotels that we work with. We usually don't share that information, but many would be surprised that there's operations going in just about every, I would say at one point or another, there's probably some type of human trafficking or some type of sex for sale within most hotels within this county. And that has nothing to do with the quality of hotels. That has nothing to do, like a lot of the hotels that we work with, their agency, their organizations, their people are top notch, but human trafficking is so under the carpet that traffickers can come in and use, and no one will be any wiser. They're that slick that human trafficking could be in any hotel, and the staff may not know about it because they're that good at keeping it under the wraps.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine. I mean, as you're sharing that, my mind's like, yeah, well, that makes sense. You hear these news reports of drug smugglers and all the unique and incredible ways they're using technology and hiding things within things of things, and it takes tens of billions of dollars of governmental resource to sniff that out. Well, we don't quite have that same resource for human trafficking, do we? We don't have that same level of depth. You don't see the vehicles for human trafficking like you do DEA.
You're exactly correct. And again, traffickers can be very slick, and what they do well to avoid detection is they move around a lot. So they don't have to, but as far as the definition of human trafficking, but in order to keep themselves safe, they'll be in an area for a day or two and move to another hotel. So they're always constantly moving. They know that if they stay in one location long enough, someone might get the indication like, hey, something's up. Or, most hotels today have staff that are trained to look for what human trafficking looks like. So the longer they stay in an area, indicators or red flags could start flashing. So they're constantly moving.
Interesting.
Brad, one of the things I saw, go ahead.
Yeah. To answer your earlier question, is human trafficking rather new, or it's sort of like a newer thing on the thing that on the horizon that we need to be looking at. So, in some ways it's not that it's changed at all. It's just that finally law enforcement and the whole criminal justice society has caught up to what actually was taking place. Okay. So I'm retired law enforcement. I'm going to date myself a little bit. When I first started this, first started law enforcement, was early 90s, and we had typewriters. So, and no cell phones. So that's how old I am. But back in the day, there was no term human trafficking. And that day, back then, we had a prostitute on the sidewalk and she had a pimp, and but in generally that's human trafficking. And now we've finally caught up to the fact of, okay, there's a lot more going on with this relationship. It's so much more manipulative. It's so much more exploitive. So now everything's kind of caught up, and now we're looking for it.
Gotcha.
I want to talk about the Ride for Freedom documentary, but to really drive home the trauma bond that exists, the manipulation that exists. And again, if I ask too much here, just let me know. But is there a moment that really opened your eyes in working with a woman? Because you said sometimes these women don't even realize they're being trafficked. I know when we had North Star on, that was a big part of our talk, and they kind of worked through like the things that happen. From your experience, what was the most eye-opening example of a woman being manipulated where she didn't even really realize that this had all happened in her life?
Yeah. So, and this hits a little close to home. I can be vague about the details of this, but we had worked a sting, and there was a sting where it was obvious human trafficking. Law enforcement was top notch and on it. So when he dropped her off at the hotel, she went into the hotel where the operation was going on, but the surveillance unit outside saw him and made a stop and started engaging with him. And they had enough to arrest him on promoting prostitution. She at the time was not, she wanted nothing to do with the whole situation. She was saying, no, I'm not trafficked. And there was indicators there that we definitely knew she was being trafficked, but we also know that she was going through all the signs of the denial part, and she was really afraid of him and et cetera. So fast forward another 8 months, and out of the blue, she contacts one of the officers that was with on that detail, and she says, "Yeah, I get it now. I realize I'm being trafficked. Can you help me get out?" So through Department of Homeland Security and task forces, she got out. North Star played a huge part in helping us along with this process, but she was around for a little while, and then all of a sudden she just disappeared. She went back just like that. So it's just one of those heartbreaking things where she's kind of vacillating back and forth of trying to understand the situation that has happened to her throughout this whole thing, and watching the situation from afar. It's a heart tug because we know what's going on. And it was both an affirmation to us because this is what we teach. This is, we do prevention campaigns all the time and trainings. This is what it looks like. And to see it face to face like that again, because we've seen this most times, that's a gut punch. That's
Yeah.
But the statistics also show, like, not unlike domestic violence victims and survivors, that they go back and forth sometimes 5 to 7 times before they really come to the understanding of what happened. So that was just one of those touches. Her process is not done, and yeah, we're still rooting for her.
Well, yeah, 5. I mean, I really was literally, I kind of went back in my seat when you said 5 to 7 interactions and touches there.
Mm-hmm.
When we had on, I'm just going to say North Star because I forget the wonderful ladies' names, and I think some leadership has changed there. But when we had North Star on, the thing that really hit home for me was they said the successes are when their people they care for say, "I feel like a human again."
Mm-hmm.
Like, for people to lose, and those are easy words to say, but for people to lose that feeling that way entirely is really profound. Yeah. So,
It's I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was finishing up. Yep.
Yeah, it's a deep manipulative relationship. The trafficker finds every vulnerability that she will have, and he will find different ways to exploit that. And it's I over 20 years of law enforcement, I worked with victims my whole career, and I never quite understood the complexity of the trauma bond until I came into human trafficking work. And to be quite honest, to be very open and transparent, when I started looking at that, like, I had the same question most other people have. Why aren't they walking away? Why don't, if all the resources are there, what's that hindrance? And then when I began to get trained and deeply trained on the trauma bond and what that looks like, it all makes sense. But once the deeper you get into the trauma bond, the more heartbreaking it is.
Yeah. That, how can people pick up on aspects of the trauma bond?
Yeah. That's probably a whole nother story and a whole nother system in itself. And that's, just to say, most people like to answer the question, what can I do? What signs could I look for? You can look for signs, but sometimes the signs don't say everything. Many times people say, like, hey, is this human trafficking? And they'll give a scenario, and that scenario looks like a teenage girl that's having a bit of a hard time with her parents setting some boundaries or healthy boundaries or something like that. So we can teach the signs, but it's a lot bigger than that. And sometimes it's a both and, but generally speaking, what it would look like is someone that has lost all control to make decisions for their own life. That's one of the main things. And trafficker would do things like separate her from all the healthy relationships that she has in her life. Many times we'll find that the trafficker will kind of blow up situations if there's challenges with family. And generally, a lot of the survivors that we're coming in contact with have had some risk factors in their lives that they don't have a whole lot of community around them, or their family system broke down or community broke down. But what the trafficker will do is find whatever vulnerabilities in that system, if there, or I should say, he'll find whatever healthy relationships there, and he'll blow them up and try and create a distance between them. He does not want any healthy relationship or healthy conversation with her.
Yeah. I mean, I can speak personally, not to the human trafficking element of that manipulative behavior, but in another aspect of my life where that instrument of destruction of relationship existed. So, that's something I think for just anybody watching, anybody listening, if you see things like that going on, it's likely indicative of a bigger problem. Again, doesn't necessarily mean you call the police and say, hey, there's a human trafficker next door. ZOE International, I'm sure on your website you have a lot of resources. We had on your social media 5 things to look for and consider. But yeah, I mean, it's the kind of thing, if you see it, pay attention, and maybe reach out to a tip line and let the professionals take over from there.
Absolutely. That's great advice.
Yeah. So tell us about A Ride for Freedom, this great documentary.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah. So it's a documentary that is just in the process of being released. Starting back first, how does cycling and human trafficking intersect? And that's a story of my wife and I, starting with ZOE International. So, well, first off, A Ride for Freedom is a documentary on the exploits of our team, the ZOE team, that we've entered into the Race Across America. So the Race Across America is a race that happens every year. It's been going on for, I think, almost a little over 40 years. Happens annually, starts in California and used to end in Maryland, but now it's ending in Atlantic City, New Jersey. It's a 3,000-mile bike race. And the reason ZOE's involved in the Race Across America is every team that enters into the Race Across America, they raise funds for their charity of choice. So it's already naturally a fundraiser for charities. So 2018, my wife and I were with ZOE in Thailand. We lived in Thailand for 5 years, working there. But we came home and we were interacting with our founders, and we were involved in some meetings, and they were talking about the amount of money that needed to be raised to open the home in Los Angeles. My wife and I were avid cyclists. So we said, well, hey, what if we do a fundraiser cycling? We'll cycle across the country and we'll do fundraising events as we go and raise awareness and also funds. So our founder said, sure. So 2018, my wife and I rode our bikes from Virginia to California. Total of, I think, a little under 4,000 miles for that ride. But we invited people to ride with us. And then when they rode with us, depending on how many days they rode, they would raise funds for that day. So it was a successful campaign. We raised about $180,000, and we thought, wow, that was good.
Good for you.
At that point, then we started having a bunch of riders with us that we were talking about the Race Across America. Now, this is an actual race. So now all the Type A guys from Lancaster County were coming on, and the cyclists, and I don't have to say anymore, Lancaster County people, we get it done. So these guys would say, hey, let's do a Race Across America. Well, we can enter and raise funds that way. So the next year, 2019, we entered into the Race Across America. Had no clue what we were doing. Again, we enter into the 8-man relay team. So the logistics in this thing are astronomical. It's a 24-hour-a-day race. So once the race starts, you don't stop until you reach the finish line 3,000 miles later.
Wow.
And you're racing against all the other 8-man teams. So yeah, it is just, it's pure chaos. It's pure chaos. So I had all that to say, we ended up finishing in like maybe 6.5 days. We raised, I think the first time we raised over $200,000. So we thought, okay, this is probably a good awareness project for us. So we do it every other year. We've raised 3 times now. So 2019, we placed third. 2021, we actually won it, came in first place.
Congratulations.
And then in 2023, we did it again, and we finished second. This last year, we're sort of known as Lancaster County's team. A lot of the other teams that enter into this, they got to know us. We're known as Lancaster County teams. We're known as the team from Amish country. So we carry that across the country. Most of the teams that enter are I would say not most, maybe 40% of them, 30-40% are from other countries. So there's a lot of, and even those people know that we're from Amish country. So it's like this kind of branding that we've been getting.
So you're doing Lancaster proud.
Exactly. We hope so. And so in 2023, we did a documentary on this to use it as an awareness of what normal people can do when they have the passion to raise awareness and to rescue children that are engaged in human trafficking. So that's what the documentary is about.
So the documentary tells the story of you being involved in the race across America.
It's our exploits of the 8 cyclists and at that point we had like 20 crew members. What's it like for all these people to get together and come across the country through the race across America? One of the things we wanted to do was the 8 cyclists, we gave them 8, we changed the names of the girls, but we gave them 8 girls that ZOE was working with and their story and to really connecting them to why we're doing this. And throughout the whole documentary, you'll see it's all about the why. 3:00 in the morning when you haven't slept more than a few hours over the past couple of days and you're absolutely exhausted, you're going to ask yourself, why am I doing this? And just there on the cyclist's arms is a girl, then he knows her story. He knows what she's struggling with. He knows that his engagement in this is helping her. And that's the why. So that's really the thesis of the whole documentary.
Yeah.
And you're one of the cyclists?
No, not anymore. So I'm getting older. I raced the first 2 years. So it got a bit too big to manage. Plus, once we started getting known as Lancaster County teams, Lancaster County has a lot of cyclists. So a lot of guys were stepping up, and now we actually have a waiting list of guys that want to ride. So we've created a very fast team. Crazy enough, we average over 20 miles an hour for 3,000 miles. And that 20 miles an hour is
trucking.
It's moving. But now when you put in that we climb over 175,000 feet in those 3,000 miles, because we're climbing the Rockies and then we're also climbing the Appalachians, that puts a little sizzle on that 20 miles an hour. So many times on a flat, we're hitting 24, 26, 28 miles an hour.
So do you draw straws for Kansas where it's just flat across?
Well, interestingly enough, and in the documentary, Kansas was a really hard spot for us this past year because I
was just trying to make a joke, but yeah.
No, and normally Kansas is not bad, but Kansas, the Midwest can be very windy, and so we had a day and a half of headwind, gusting at 20 miles an hour, but steady, 12 to 15 miles an hour in your face. And we had like 90 to 95 degree temperature. So it was a really hot Kansas, both Kansas and Missouri were really difficult for us this year.
Wow. So where can we watch this documentary?
So it's, we're in the process of trying to, we're a nonprofit trying to figure out, okay, what's the next steps of something. It's really well done. We had a production company, Astorius production company make it for us. So right now, if you go on to our ZOE RAM website, if you just Google ZOE Race Across America, our website will come up, but it's gozoe.org/RAM 2025. That'll come to our landing page of we're racing again in 2025. So it'll have the details of what who our team is, etc. And on there's a sign up that you can sign up and get the link for the documentary.
Mm-hmm. Very good. One thing I wanted to point out, you have sponsors that you take on for the race to help support the effort and the result of raising, 6 figures with, a 2 in front of it. And I would imagine 2025, you probably have a big goal as well. But the sponsors page, we had Country Lane Gazebos and Redner's Markets as an example. Mm-hmm. It seems almost any charitable thing I go, youth sports organization, which I was just at for my son's football season kickoff yesterday, Redner's is there. Mm-hmm. Redner's is a Berks County business, but it's our neighbor to the north. And, ZOE International is connected to Berks County. We talked about a mutual friend of ours pre-show that you work with on the front line. So I share that when we show these sponsors, think about that. Think about what they're doing in your community. Mm-hmm. And, if you can't donate to a company like ZOE International, you can't donate to the other companies and charities that the charities that we have on our show. At least think about, if you're going to go get groceries this week, maybe go to Redner's instead, right? Because they are supporting companies like ZOE right here in our backyard. They're supporting the dog rescues. They're supporting Help the Fight. They're supporting all these great charities we bring on the show. And this is, literally, I think this is the fourth time in the last week I've seen Redner's name come up in my personal life, including this show. So I just wanted to shout that out. What do your sponsors do for you? Like, what does their support mean for you and your endeavors with Race Across America?
Yeah, great question. It's such an affirmation to what we do. It's one thing we know that people are behind us, and people will say like, "Hey, love what you're doing," whatever. But when they put a financial dollar amount to it, that really is an affirmation. Like, okay, they believe in what we're doing, and they want to do good with the profits of their business, which I think is amazing. And yeah, to your point, I think it's just we should be aware of, okay, what organizations and what businesses out there are sinking their time, money, and resources into their own communities, because all are. And I think it's just, to your point, it's just a great thing to do to make sure that this is a community thing. So having that community impact is very powerful.
Yeah. And real quick, just a little left turn in the conversation. You said it, do good with the profits they make. I think a lot of folks look at donations like, oh yeah, well they just get to write that off, right? Like there's a whole Seinfeld episode about write-offs, right? Are you a Seinfeld fan, Brad?
Write it off.
I'm an absolute Seinfeld fanatic. Yeah.
So you know the exact episode we're talking about. What I just wanted to touch on that because I think most people understand this, but maybe they just need to hear it this way. A company needs to make money to be able to benefit from donating money. Yes, every company, even if you're losing money, can make a donation, but it really only matters on the bottom line if they are making money. So they are actively choosing to take their profits and do good with them, which is exactly what you said. So thank you for that reminder of all those companies that sponsor you and all the companies that sponsor all the great organizations that come on the show. Thank you for giving back to Lancaster County.
For sure. Yeah.
Brad, we often ask our nonprofit guests how the Lancaster community can support ZOE International. So what would you say there?
Yeah, well, first, I'd like to just kind of deflect just a second of like, what can they do for human trafficking? And maybe you're going to ask that question later. Sorry if I'm, but just.
No, perfect.
For us, it's more important to, we'll stay as small as we can. We're not out for, most of the stuff that we do, you'll never see on our website. You'll never see on our marketing stuff, just because we like to stay that way. It's not that it's not important to say what we do, but we just want to do the work. So we're not really advertising a ton of what we're doing. So, but I will say, what I love about your question of what can people do? Well, they can educate themselves on human trafficking. Not everybody is set to be on the front lines or in the trenches of human trafficking, and that's okay. Not everybody's cut out for this work. I often tell people, if they think they're interested in this kind of work, just to make sure, dip your toe in the water, because if you jump into the deep end and you're not cut out for this, you're going to get chewed up pretty quickly. It can be very tough. But what they can do is educate themselves. And ZOE has a whole ton of resources on our website of how to educate yourself. Some of the things, like the Polaris Project, the Department of Homeland Security Blue Campaign, there's all types of classes you can take, online classes you can take, and there's just a wealth of information that people can educate themselves. But also, in that, okay, who's doing good nonprofit work in this arena? And do your research, find out who's doing good work, and if you want, support them. If not, there's volunteer opportunities to get involved in. There's financial opportunities, but get involved somehow. But mostly, it starts with educating yourself on what human trafficking is and how it's operating in your community.
Yeah,
that's great.
Great answer. Really great answer. Yeah. And listen, I'll say it for Brad because he's such a gentleman and such a champion for this cause. If you take all the education you want, understand the signs, but if you still want to donate, ZOE International is a great place to donate some of those dollars to if you have them to donate. Yeah, you're more than happy to take donations. I take it. Is that right?
Absolutely. But yeah,
Yes.
thank you for saying it the way you did. Yeah.
But you were such a gentleman to say it the way you did. I will say it for you. Yes, please donate if you're so called. Please donate to do it. And it looks like there's even a simple thing: $10 to end campaign. Tell us about that. That's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah. And again, I think some people think that, the problem is so large that, oh, well, what is my money? What can it do? But really the $10, it's just a way to, would you commit $10 a month to support us and to support the kids that we serve? And within that, what we love about those monthly donors is that they become part of our team. So they're getting constant updates on things, getting newsletters of what's going on. And it really not only helps us financially, but also really makes it part of the team. And, my whole life has either been military or police work. And what I've noticed about this type of work is that in the past, there can be a lot of sideload stuff, but this is such a collaborative event and a collaborative effort to defeat human trafficking. It should be a team thing. It should be all community things. So when someone becomes a part of our monthly donors, we bring them into the fold and educate them and give them ideas of how they can serve and things like that. So,
yeah, that's great. That's wonderful. Wonderful. So let's just go over your websites again, because you have your website for the documentary and we have your main website, gozoe.org, GOZOE.org. That's where you'll get everything ZOE International. And then we had ZOE RAM for the documentary, zoeram.org, ZOERAAM.org. And that's where you'll pick up the Race Across America, Ride for Freedom documentary, which, as you said, is all the exploits of an incredible 6.5 day race that's 3,000 miles.
Blood, sweat, and tears of, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I really like how you put you gave a name, you gave a cause, a person behind all the pedaling, all the blood and the sweat and the tears. I thought that was a really special touch there to do that for the riders. And I guess you call them cyclists. There's not any riding; they're cycling.
Cyclist riders, they answer to anything. But there's a joke that these guys, we call them the prima donnas because all they have to do is ride their bikes, and which is really tough, I know. But the crew as well. The crew is, their job is to make sure that the cyclists get fed well, they get as much sleep as possible. So, but the riders and the cyclists are very, very honoring to the crew, but it's just an inside joke with us of, they're the prima donnas and they're the quarterbacks of the show and we're just the linemen.
I was just going to make that one. My son's an offensive lineman. So I remind him hey, this is the life you chose.
Exactly.
There's no stats for linemen. There's no stats for road crew,
right? Food
crew, hotel crew, all the stats for the pretty boys, as we call them.
For the pretty boy.
So, love it. Brad, thank you so much for spending time. Thank you for choosing to do the work you do and lead with ZOE International. Again, shout out to the Lancaster County Human Trafficking Task Force and specifically our local district attorney's office run by Heather Adams. All of this work can happen, but if our judicial arm doesn't want to sink their teeth into a problem, they don't necessarily have to. And, that is just, I think, something to specifically call out, that everybody's efforts are supported and not undermined by local judicial branch. So, and enforcement. So thank you to them and Heather Adams and her team. Brad, thank you to you. Thank you for your time. So we know you're an Eagles fan. We got to know that in the pre-show. We know you're a Seinfeld fan. We got to know that in the show. We're going to get to know you a little bit more with our connection cocktail, if that's okay.
Sure. Absolutely.
All right. You want to lead it off?
Yeah. So, Brad, we got 3 questions for you. If you had more hours in the day, what would you spend them doing? Like if the day included more than 24 hours?
Yeah, good question. Well, right now I'm training for an Ironman triathlon in September. So, yeah. And my wife is so on board with this. But they're pretty much all our time. Like we're not even taking a vacation this year because this whole last 6 months has been training, and our date nights have been cut short and all that. So yeah, I would maybe continue training, but also be great to hang out with her a little bit, make sure that, yeah, she's been uber supportive. And I promise this is my first and last one. I'm never going to do this again.
Okay. That was the question. Okay. And where are you doing this?
It's Cambridge, Maryland.
Okay. So you don't have to swim in the Susquehanna or anything like that.
No, it's
Okay,
the
good.
Chop Tank River, which is actually part of the bay, I guess. So
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Well, good luck.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So maybe question 1 dovetails into question 2. Do you have a hidden talent?
No, recently though, I'm a fly fisherman. So within the past, I would say 3 years, I started to tie my own flies. I've gotten pretty good at that, but that again, it's one of those things that you don't really pick up right away. It's, experience and technique really matter over the years. So I take a lot of insight from guys that have been doing it for 20 years. So yeah, I said that maybe that's a bit of a hidden talent.
Very cool. Okay. And then actually question 2 might kind of relate to question 3 here. You've got your choice: a house on the beach or next to the beach, or a house or a cabin in the woods. What are you picking?
Yeah. We have a cabin in the woods, so definitely a cabin in the woods.
Yeah. Figure with fly fishing, you're not really doing that in the ocean, are you?
Right. But we do like the ocean, but yeah, certainly, absolutely cabin in the woods.
Very good.
Very good.
Very good. Well, Brad, thank you. Thank you again for your time, all that you do at ZOE International. Again, if you'd like to learn more, go to GoZoe, GOZOE.org. One of those nice, short, simple URLs to type in, GoZoe.org, and see all the amazing work that they're doing to help end human trafficking. So thank you, Brad. Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, gentlemen. And again, I'd love the community aspect of what you guys are doing, bringing the community together, educating the community. Lancaster is a very interesting, and we're very blessed to be here. So what you guys are doing is a really cool thing.
Oh,
Cool.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. All right. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
There's another good one. Heavy topic, but
Mhm.
just because it's heavy doesn't mean we shouldn't shine light on it. And that's the whole point of our show. So some weeks we're puppy dogs, and other weeks we're heavy topics like human trafficking. And so, wow. And there we go. As a trafficking survivor, thank you for what you're doing. So this is somebody from YouTube commenting. So, Kiki, thank you. That's why we do it.
Yep.
It's pretty cool.
It is.
We have this reach. So, wow. Thank you. So I guess we've got our sleep better tip and testimonial.
Testimonial. I got a sheet of paper here.
Yeah. So you want to go?
I'll go.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Lead it off.
So we sell mattresses here, right? And we ask all of our customers for feedback. Sometimes that comes in the form of an online review or Facebook recommendation. Often it's these paper testimonial forms that we give to customers on their delivery. They fill it out and mail it back to us. This is one that came in last week from Marge and Don right here in Lancaster. They highlighted Drew, their salesperson. Drew has been with us almost 10 years.
Coming up on 10 years.
Yeah, he lets us know often.
He does.
Coming up on 10 years.
He's a good salesperson.
Drew was extremely helpful. He did not pressure us. He took time to explain options and listen to our questions and offer us choices. And then also buying a new mattress turned out to be a pain-free and enjoyable process. Often buying a mattress is something people don't look forward to doing, right? It's like,
yeah,
got to buy a mattress. But
well, it's not like you had mattress buying 101 in college.
Right. Exactly. So they would definitely recommend Gardner. So thank you, Marge and Don, for trusting your sleep and health and well-being to gardeners. And thank you for your kind words.
Yeah. And just to add to the type of testimonial that Ben had shown, I'm always honored and astounded and feel a moment of blessing when we have customers send in those paper forms. We get more of those each week than we get the online
Yeah.
reviews. And in 2024, you would think it's the complete opposite. In fact, might think, well, why are you even sending that out in 2024? Aren't we in this digital world? The reality is, as a business owner, we know it's good to let people respond any way they're most comfortable. And so we continue to do both. I just think it's so great that we get those back. We digitize them, and then they are cataloged here in the store, and we put them on display. But
the reality is it took probably any of these people that write these reviews, except for the ones that might be only a few words, like it probably took 10 minutes to put this together.
Yeah, and that's
grab
why
it, think about the
Yeah.
answers, write it all down, fold it, put it in an envelope, stamp it, walk it to the mailbox.
Yeah,
And
use their own stamp.
it's a process.
Yeah, which not a lot of people keep stamps in the house anymore.
Yep.
It's just a sign of the time. So, yeah, we're blessed and honored that our customers do take the time to give that added time for feedback. So, thank you to all of our wonderful customers. My sleep better tip directly ties into this comment that we got at the end of the show. And it might not be exactly related to a mattress. It might not be exactly related to a pillow or anything we sell here, but can absolutely help your soul in the way that you might be able to sleep better. So do something good in this world. Every one of us has the opportunity for impact. Here we are, two guys coming together to help our community, shine light on human trafficking, and who's ever behind. I'm going to assume the name Kiki Love isn't maybe somebody's full name. That might be part of the name. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. They saw value in our show today. And as a trafficking survivor, they're so grateful for what we're doing. And, they know, and we know, shining light on this will likely help somebody down the road. So all of us have the ability to impact our neighbor, our friend, our family members, the kids we coach, the kids we teach, the people we have in church, just anywhere in our community. We have that opportunity to create impact. So please do it. Please take the time, even if it's 5 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. Please do it. It's good for your soul. It's good for your neighbor. It's good for our community. And you will sleep better as a result of it, for sure. There's just something that releases in your body. I don't know all the scientific terms and the biological terms, but all those happy, good feelings will help you sleep better. I promise you. So take that time for impact. If you want tactical stuff, beyond what I just shared, you can get our Sleep Better book. Go to gardnersmattressandmore.com/sleep-better. We'll mail you a copy. But I'd love more so for you to take up on my challenge to create impact. Because when our community is great, when our community is strong, our business is going to be just fine. We're going to have all the business we could ever want. So as long as our community is in great health, well-being, that's what matters. Yep.
Well said.
Yep. I think that's the show for this week.
So
we're back into it next week. Labor Day sales continue. If we can help you out to sleep better, please do come see us, call us. We're here to help you. If you want to be a guest on the show, if you have a charity, an effort that helps our community, reach out to us at lancasterconnects.com/guest, and we'll get you on the show. And until next week, we'll see you next week. Take care.